Hey, everybody. So we're about to get started here in a couple minutes. I'm just still getting set up, uh, and we're getting there slowly but surely, but we are getting there. So let's just go through a couple of things here. I'm going to just share the link out a couple places, uh, and we'll go from there. So let's see what we got going here. Hey, how you doing, Gaither? So I have a bunch I want to go over. Just give it a couple of minutes. We'll let everybody kind of funnel in here, um, and we'll kind of go from there. So if you just want to start throwing names out, that's fine. The ones I want to go over, I can basically go over at any time. But hey, everybody. So we can start UNH and ZI. So I do want to go through the news on BNTX and what to do about it next week. But let's just go through UNH. Let's just start here. So you're seeing a lot of this, and you're seeing it throughout the whole set, all these sectors, all these supportive sectors. You're seeing rotation in the safety, and this was no different. We saw this spike on Thursday, and then we saw follow through on Friday, right? So I don't think that you're in a big problem here. I think that if for me, I would be looking at this a little bit. I would just be looking at this and seeing how we do. So I do think you can get up here. I do think that this will continue to see some push. I think you're going to see a lot of push in the safety names just because of what's going on in Afghanistan and how that's playing out with the rest of the world. So when that happens, people tend to buy safety. It really doesn't get much more safe than this. So just keep that in mind. But I do think you can get up to this level, and you can see. Look at utilities as well. I mean, they're just rocking. So as far as ZI, I think you have a really interesting pattern developing here. The problem is that pattern technically is in a bear flag, right? Because you're here, you based, you tried to break out of it and failed. So you can actually have a bunch of different stuff going on here. But let's look at this. So there's ZI, right? Now let's look at ZI going straight across. Now, see how you touched here, 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 bonk, right? We can see it. It's all over the place. So the question becomes, what do we do about that? Well, for me, I needed to break above this level and then push, right? So that's really what I'm looking for now. Some people can say this is a level. I don't really view it as one. But for me, breaking this level gets me up to here to 62. That at least gets me something. This bar, see this bar on Friday, how you're closing at the top of the channel, not the bottom of the channel or the bottom of the bar. So that gives me some hope that you could break out here and then push to this level. Okay, that's a possibility. 62.91 would be your first level, and then you'd have to start working your way back up this red bar here, this red doji. But I like it. I like the fact, I mean, there's a couple things I really like about it. One, this was the original move, and it crushed it, right, on earnings. And then what happened? They issued a secondary, and then it came all the way back down. Then it ran again. Then what happened? They issued a secondary, right? So they did like 2 secondaries in a very short period of time. Well, they've all been eaten up, and the stock's substantially higher from those secondaries. So that tells you that you have demand. And with that, leads you to believe that you're going to have people that are going to step up and buy it. So I would definitely keep this one on my radar. I like it. I think it has a lot of potential. I really do. And you can see the volume spike there. I just wanted to point that out. So let's just keep going. Hey, Kev. Hey, Swing. So, yeah, I agree with that. And then I'll run this. Hey, Anna. Anna bringing out all the stops, throwing out the little clove emojis and everything. Okay. Let's just go through this. Yeah. I mean, I agree with this on the video, and I'm going to go through this on this weekly. I mean, we could just look at this here for a minute. Like there's really no reason to not, but like this is just setting up to really run. It really is. I mean, you're really just looking for this, and I mean, I'll just do it very quickly so you can see it. But first mouse gets the trap, second mouse gets the cheese. Look at the volume that's coming into this. And this just has nothing but upside. So I think you're going to see 250, and I think you're going to see it pretty quickly. So we'll see how this plays out. But that reversal on Thursday was everything down here. Absolutely everything. How you gapped down here. It looked like you were going to break that 185. You didn't break it, and then you reversed. We had a good day trade out of it, but the real move hasn't really, the real move off of this base from back here since July hasn't even begun. There's a lot of potential there. Also, I agree with what you're saying. And these are some of the notes from the what do you call it? The newsletter that will go out later tonight. But see how you're here bouncing. Look at this. So this is just, right. So you broke the wedge line, held the 50-day, which we talked about before, right? And now you're over the 21 and the 8. I mean, this is ready to go. Look at this. Right, Microsoft's breaking out all-time highs, flipped its channel, right? I mean, it doesn't really get any better than that. And, you can see on Thursday, it's almost like people knew it was coming. It held the 21-day and then just exploded. But look at this. It's the technology index for the S&P, right? Closing at an all-time high. So how much longer before this rallies, right? How much longer does this become, I'm keep looking at it and waiting, but does this become the new bottom of the SOXL, right? So there's moves out there for sure. I agree. I really agree. BHVN. Let's do BAH. So Booz Allen. I'm not really crazy about the pattern. I think the one thing you might have here is you're breaking down, you're trying to rally. I have to get to the 21, the 200, the 8. I don't see a ton of upside, Anna. Like, I'm not saying it can't go for a trade up to this level. Absolutely, it can. It can absolutely get up to here too. But I'm fighting for $3, and I just don't see that big move. Like, look, first you have this little nightmare, right? So essentially you have a rising wedge that was broken. So you have that to contend with. Second, I can almost tell just by eyeing it up that you're going to have some other issues in here. Okay. So now you're going to run into point of control on your volume by price, and you're going to run into what? VWAP. So you're in the middle of like the worst place. And then if you get through each one of these, which is, a nightmare, then I get to the 21-day, then I get to the 200. So I think there are better ideas out there than that. Biohaven. Yeah. I mean, like this, I get like this, I get like, look at this. Yeah. That I get. That makes a ton of sense. I mean, you could even, some people probably argue that you use this, but I like the way I drew it better. So I don't really like that. But looking at this, yeah, I mean, that can really go. I'd like to see more volume, but you're forming a cup here. Now you should technically get to the top of this, which is 129. So you can get to the top of that. To play this, Anna, just all you're looking for is this. All you want on this BHVN is to get above that level, 125. And it's go time, as long as you have above average volume. Do you have any volume on this at the end of the days? Maybe they're just hiding what they're doing. Yeah, you do at the end of every day. Look. Yep. Somebody's selling at the end of every day. Well, here they're buying. Look at that. So someone's accumulating it and trying to do it quietly. You might want to keep your eye on this. But someone's definitely trying to accumulate it at the end of the day. This could go. I like that one. Hey, Doug. PANW. So I like the company a lot. You're sitting right on that volume by price VWAP, and you're sitting right on that volume by price point of control. You're sitting right in there on those levels. I'm not so sure what we want to do about that. You know, I'm not so sure that I want to play this before I break it. So let's see how this goes, but this is not something I'd be rushing into. I have too many little battles in here. Like if I can flip this, that'd be great. If you can flip this, you're going to get up probably this 50-day pretty quickly, right? 380, 381. But you're really waiting for that to do that. And then you're just going to kind of keep stepping up over and over again. When are earnings? Yeah, I don't know that I'm buying this before earnings, Doug. Like every time, let me get rid of this just to clean this up. Every time that this company comes out with earnings, it's a crapshoot. You just don't know, right? Here were earnings, they were exceptional. Here earnings were better than this quarter, and the stock sold down drastically, right? So, it's really a crapshoot. Unless you're up a lot in the trade, I would not be holding into earnings. I'd want to take a look after earnings. If this, this doesn't really trade like Oracle or CRM, which always kind of go down after earnings, and then that becomes where you buy them. But like this name, you just have to watch. This is not really where you get involved. I'd be cautious there, Doug, until you have earnings. I'm definitely going to do, I did UNH, I did ZI, and thanks for throwing those out there so I didn't have to go through them. BNTX, I mean, we can go over now. We're going to go over all of them anyway. I just want to, go through this so that we're all, people are aware. Let me just start here and go through this. So looking at this is really what you're focused on, right? So you have this FDA news that hit Friday, and the stock traded up after hours. And it's kind of interesting because you traded up to a key level and then you rejected it. You didn't go through it. So I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, but you really need to watch this 375 level. Like that was the area we started to get to, and they put the ask out there a couple times at 375. And if you're like super closely watching it at the end of the day on Friday, you could see them testing that area by putting orders out there. And then those orders were just being rejected and they had to keep coming down. So there's somebody up there that wants to sell. So 375 is the first level. This 395, 396 levels is the next fib. And then you'd walk your way up to 406. This news can hit and you could sell down on it. I'm not so sure that that's what happens. I actually think that it could continue to go. I think this one could actually rally and then sell down. This is not great. I mean, it's good news from the standpoint of, yes, these drugs are getting FDA approval if it happens. But if it doesn't happen, or if it happens for Pfizer and then Moderna has to wait 3 months or 6 months, look, people, and they filed late. They filed like a month later, I think. So people are going to demand when they go to see their doctor and say, hey, where's the Pfizer one? Where's the one that's FDA approved? I mean, there's a reason why you want FDA approval. And I really think Pfizer could benefit greatly from this. So, and we actually ran right to that level, right? And then we rejected, and you're sitting right on the 8. This could just flip the stock on Monday and make it run. You'll see a lot of institutions buy this because it just solidifies their position long-term in it. So this is the safest one of the three to play. Hey, Fernan. All right. LRCX and Twilio. So in regards to LRCX, like this entire group, this sold down on what we know, right? What do we know? We know that we had we had some earnings that came out on AMAT, and then we sold down. And I just look at them as they were just throwing the baby out with the bathwater on that day. Like I'm kind of surprised that this is selling down the way that it is. Intel came out and said they're a buyer of semiconductor equipment manufacturers. I mean, that's Applied Materials. That's Lam Research. It's KLA 10 core. So I don't really understand it, right? But it doesn't really matter what I understand. I mean, this is what's happening. So what I understand and what's happening are two different things. It's like, you know, this looks like it's ready. It's going to start to turn here finally and go. I was hoping to get down to the 50-day, but it doesn't look like it's going to do that. But in regards to this, what I would say to you, and to answer your question on Lam, you know, look at what happened on Friday. Like, as much as I think semiconductors bottomed, I gapped up, right? I encompassed this bar, okay? And then I closed below the 200-day for the first time since September. So it's not really a ringing endorsement to jump in there. Now, if this level can get defended, great. But in the meantime, you have a bearish engulfing pattern sitting right on the 200-day and you close below it. Like, if you don't hold here, you really can't be buying that and thinking that you're going to be successful. You're probably not, you know, and you're breaking some long-term, like, look, you're breaking some long-term trend lines here. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on or why they're selling down, but they are. And a matter of fact, look at this. It actually used that level here as a resistance point. So I wouldn't be jumping into it. I'd wait and see. Twilio, I love the name. Twilio I watch a lot. So, but, you know, what's that chart telling you is happening? I have the 21 crossing the 50. I have the 8 crossing the 200. And if I look at this pattern without anything, and we don't know what it is, right? I've got a falling wedge. And on top of that, with this bar down, what do I have? I have a bear flag. Do I really want to be buying this? Probably not. This is probably not something that I want to be jumping into. So, you know, if you sold it when it broke, if you shorted it when it sold, broke the 50, you know, you're up, right to the 200. Now you're here. So you kind of have to watch it, but I would not be a buyer here, you know, and the earnings are exceptional, absolutely exceptional, but I just wouldn't be a buyer of that here. It's got to shape up. So DE, John Deere. I like John Deere. I like John Deere and I like Caterpillar, but we have to see what they do. And now, right now, it's just not acting right. You tried to rally and you failed and you came down and you collapsed, right? So can you really buy that here? No. And I like it. I think it should be going higher, but you know, you had these reversals. It's almost like they're saying they know the economy is going to slow. It's such a weird market right now because, you know, I tried to figure out why utilities were rising because of rates, but they're really rising because of flight to safety, right? I mean, it's crazy, but like something like this, you can't buy this and you can't buy this. As much as I like the names here, you can't buy them. I mean, someone was asking me about this the other day to talk about like big industrial companies. That's just got short written all over it. I mean, as soon as you broke that 50-day, you sold down. You rallied to the 50-day, you sold down. I mean, it's over and over again. So I would not be a buyer. That's for sure of these. I would sit and watch and wait. You know, one of the things that we talk about all the time is just look at utilities. You know, for whatever reason, you're seeing a flight to safety. Okay. It could be a myriad of reasons, but this is a simple energy stock. Okay. And this is how it's acting. It's like the second largest in the XLE. And now you look at this, and I keep waiting for this to break. Or maybe finally it will break and get through these two wicks up here, but it just hasn't done it yet. So I just think that you're going to get to a point, and I know I'm going off of what you're talking about with the John Deere, but to me, it's the same trade because, you know, if the economy's getting better and things are getting better and we're going to have international trade, then you need John Deere, you need Caterpillar. They're not trading that way. So, you know, you're really going to have to see how they do. But this to me just looks like it could just keep going. Here, look at this chart. I mean, this is utilities closed at an all-time high. It's crazy. I like the chips. If I had to pick, I like the semiconductors more. So look, you're seeing it all across the board though, right? Swing, like look at Merck. Okay. So you're seeing a flight into pharma names. Okay. And let me go through I don't know, like here, like look, Johnson and Johnson. I mean, like you're just seeing this over and over again. And the rumor with Johnson and Johnson with the one shot apparently and less side effects. And I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I know I have some doctors that are on here right now and scientists. They can speak more to it than I can. I'm just regurgitating information. But looking at these pharma stocks, like these are all set to go. I mean, this broke out Friday, right? Get above that 78 3/4, and Merck is gone. It's going back up to here. They're not huge, sexy moves, right? That people are going to hear about, but they work. I mean, we talked about this last week, right? Remember this? We talked about like something like this, like instead of the high beta stuff, this is what's working. We bought it at 78. It went to 80. It's at 86 right now. You're up 15% utility, and you're not even. You're sleeping well at night. I mean, that's the stuff that seems to be working with no aggravation, right? This at 212, up 10% on it, no aggravation, no nothing. We buy NVIDIA and we run up, get stopped out, runs up, looks like it's going to break, we get stopped out. I mean, it's just, the volatility that's going on in tech right now is huge, and you're not seeing that in other sectors. So it's just something to consider. Hey, Lucas, good morning. Hope everything's well in Australia. ZIM. Hey, Stoney. So, okay. Tried to break out here, failed, right? Now, I like this action. What I didn't like was how we responded after earnings. We had an actual trade in the community up here, and you either made money or you broke even or lost a little bit. But when you reverse like this, for those that have watched that candlestick video, and I'm going to start putting links in the description of this video for public, for people to look at later. Candlesticks will be one in there. But look at that level, right? So you're sitting at the low here. I can actually move this over so you can see what I'm looking at. We'll just drag this all the way over here, and we'll look where we closed. So we tried to break and close above this. We couldn't. We formed this doji right here, which gave us 2/3 of the evening star. We completed the evening star down to here. Now we reversed and encapsulated it with what? Kind of bullish engulfing. That should be the end of it. Okay, that should be the end of the downward move, and this should push to go higher now, right? That's what should happen. For that to happen, you need to get above and close above that level, okay? And then you have to see if you can break this 49.30 level. But first, you're going to have to get above this 49, right? And go up this wick and clear it all out. If you can do that, you can pop back in this channel and it can keep going. So there is potential here. I do like the name. Shop lost the 50-day. Yeah, I saw that. I mean, it's not even just the 50-day, but to answer your question, you lost the 50-day the day before, right? So if you were going to do it, it's really the day before. But now you have to short it and you have to use this as your stop, right? So if you decide to buy puts, you have to use the high of this as your stop. So you're at 1485, right, Nestor? So there's nothing wrong with that, but you're sitting right at this 1450 level, which is a key level I have marked here. It was a key level here and here and here, and we hit it before several times. We actually had it marked as a stop. We actually kept moving the stop up. I thought we were going to get up to here. That never happened. Now you're breaking down. So to me, this is setting up as a short, right? That is a short. There's no question about it. Which puts you buy, that's going to be up to you. I'd have to look at them. I'm not going to do that tonight. You can reach out to me. Nestor, either on here in the comments or email me, and I can kind of go through that with you and post them. Just email me here if you want like specific requests for which puts or whatever, and then I'll try to help you or offer more specific advice about puts. I don't want to get into that too much here and slow down the groove. But I could see why you would short this. Sure. I mean, it's doing what you want it to do. Breaking 1450 and breaking this level, that was the gap lower last time. You held that. Now maybe you don't hold it. Maybe you go. Maybe you break that 50 points. But if this falls, we know, I mean, we know how nasty this gets when it falls. I mean, this is what happens, right? It collapses. So, you know, that's what you have to realize. I can actually clean this up a lot. I can get rid of all this. Let's get rid of everything. And let me just show you this on the weekly. You see this a little cleaner. Like you don't really want to break this. You really don't want to break this because then you start getting into all these different levels. And it's nothing for you to drop 100 points on this. I mean, it does it all the time. So yeah, you could definitely be looking at puts on that. No question about it. So, okay, so there I am. So, all right, let me go through a couple of these. So, let's do Tesla and BTBT and NCTY. All right, so let's just do Tesla because most people are interested in what's going on there. So, they came out with a robot. I mean, I don't know why I'm surprised, but it comes out with a robot. You think the stock's going to go up. It doesn't. I just want to point something out. This is why we're on it. This is the weekly chart. Okay. Here, look at this. So, you know, that's major support. Okay. Bonk, bonk, bonk. I mean, that's major support. Okay. Now you're trapped in here. And I was trying to point this out the other day. Let me just try and draw this perfectly. So you're trapped in here. You're hitting here. You're hitting here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Closed over at once. Looked like it was going to go. Gave you the inside day before the breakout. Didn't do that. Decided to go back down. Tried again to close above this level. Couldn't. Tried again to close above this level. So you're in this trading range. While you're in this trading range, you're forming this rising channel, you know, on the weekly. So I don't really have anything until you get above a certain level. For me, the trade is pretty simple. Right? You're in a range. So I think anything under the 50-day and the 200-day is pretty clear. It's pretty clear this 50-day is being bought, right? So anytime it touches the 50-day, I would be a buyer. And if you don't close above the 50-day by the end of that day, I'd be out because it can go lower, right? You can break I mean, it has broken the 50-day before and just gone down, right? And it's done it here and it breaks and it goes down. So you're going to need to stop. You need a system in place. But if I get to this line again, I just think it's a buy the way it's been trading. BTBT. So this is pretty much a failed breakout. You have a rally right here. You hit the 200-day, you bounce off of it. You can't get above the 8, and you're sitting right in the 200. So that's not really that exciting. I know people are trying to play this because of what's going on with Bitcoin. My advice is to play Bitcoin. Like I can get rid of these. I can get rid of all this actually. If you really want to be involved with this and you're looking to play the space, just buy Bitcoin. Or buy the derivatives of Bitcoin. Playing these little guys like this, if this is what you're trying to play for, it's not worth it. Now, this can break out, but you have to get above that 13 3/4 before you even consider it. This one, I kind of understand why they moved on Friday. It was one I was looking at. That news that came out did have me interested in it, but it didn't really. I got to zoom in on this because of how far the range is. There we go. So I liked it and I was waiting for it to break this wedge and we just never did it. I mean, them increasing capacity, it's definitely something to look at, because that just means that they're going to make more money, but it just didn't work. The trade didn't work. So I get above this wedge line. get above this little wick right here. What's that? 14.58, 14 and 3/4. Get above 14 and 3/4. Maybe you can get back to this 19 level and try. But until you see something like that, I would just avoid it. Let's just say GDDY, long lines avenue, buy when no one wants. Let's take a look at it. So I don't know. No, that's pretty broken. I mean, it does seem that there's something going on at this level, though, doesn't there? Somebody's buying it at this level. I mean, that's really broken. It could rally. I mean, it definitely could rally. Hold on 1 second here, and let's take a look at this. Let's put this in. And okay. Yeah, you do have a positive divergence. So let's just go through that. But you do have a positive divergence. Well, let me do it this way. Let's get rid of this because you are right. So here, let's talk about this because it's actually an interesting lesson to learn. So there's your trend, right, which is down. And why that's happening, what's happening here. Yeah, so that's a positive divergence. You're 100% right. So the way to play that would just be this is the wedge that I see. I don't know if there's another wedge there or not, Justin. Hold on. Let's just take a look. No. So that's garbage. So I am spending a lot of time on this one. I'm doing it on purpose. You have a trade here. You definitely have a trade. So what I would look for is this. Okay. It depends on if you want to own this one or not. You need to get above that 71. Getting above 71 is what you need. This is what you're shooting for first. 74. And then you're shooting for this. Okay. They're your 3 levels. The issue with it is that you have to basically use the 68.25 or 68.75 as your stop. So you're basically using a $2 stop to make $4 or $3. So it might not be worth it. That's the problem with the trade. So if you can get up $3 or $2 in it and just move the stop up, and if you get stopped out, then you get stopped out. But that's how I would look at that. That's how I would review that. But I like it. But you are right. Hey, Bo. Do I use Elliott wave theory at all? No, I don't. I'm not saying there's not validity to it. It's just not something that I use. I'm not a big predictor and looking at a pattern and doing that, saying this is going to happen because that's going to happen. It's just not how I trade. I know people that use it. I know people that love it. Some very successful people use it as one of their key things. It's just not something that I use. Doesn't mean it doesn't have value. I just don't use it. So secular shift feels like it's happening soon. Yeah, I mean, that's what I don't understand with the chip shortage. Unless they're selling down because of what's going on in Taiwan and they're worried about a disruption, and that's why. I don't know. I'm not really sure why they're selling down, but they are. Happy Summer Sunday, Tom. SWKS. SWKS. Let's do it. So I'll leave this RSI in. This is kind of cool. Yeah. What's going on there? Yeah, you can't really go near this, can you? Yeah, I would just avoid this. You're going to need it to give you something, right? I mean, right now I'm just going to rally and roll. See how you're rolling here? All these trades. When you have this kind of pattern, where you roll like this and you break this like this. Somebody asked me before what a waterfall is. That's a waterfall. So what happens with a waterfall, right? Something hits it like picture a barrel, it bounces back up, and then what happens? Goes back under. So now I would not be a buyer of this. here's a great one that to give you an example of where people are like, when they break and they go, oh, how much lower can it go? Right. And when they start rolling, how much lower can they go? You bounce back up, you come back down. So I wouldn't go near that. That's not a pattern it's not a pattern that's exciting to me. And I'm below too many things. I'm below too many moving averages. I'd avoid it, Tom, until it gets better. Yeah, I really like these. I actually think that these are great. So I'm just waiting for this to find a bottom. I mean, this is really where you buy it, right? This is like, you have to realize that this is basically almost like a value play. We talked about this before, right? Where, I can leave this up there. Like 60% of all outsourced chip manufacturing, it takes place in Taiwan in this company. 90% of the profits are from there. So it's really very difficult to find something better. Let's remove these. And I can actually remove this line and we leave these in. But you can see when you break here what happens. And hopefully we hold this level. If you hold this level and bounce, I mean, this is getting grossly oversold. It can always get lower, but when you start to see it get into like the 20s, all that's left are the teens. You get into the teens, it can always go lower, right? It can always get worse. But when you start to see that, you're starting getting to a point where enough's enough. And when it does snap back, right, and eventually it will snap back, it's one heck of a bounce. So just keep that in mind. But I would be looking at that. Let's see. You know what, Lucas? I honestly, it really just stopped from a newsletter standpoint. It stopped us out. I'm not really crazy about the fact that it stopped us out, but I have to honor the stop for the newsletter. So I'm not really crazy about it because they did it in the last 2 minutes of the day. Like I watched them trigger it. So it was just a bunch of people that were screwing around and triggered it, and it is what it is. So I have to look for another entry into it for the newsletter. I am far from done with this. That's for sure. I mean, I like it. I mean, you held here and you closed at a new high in a bad tape, and now you're rolling. So I'm not really crazy about that, but I will say this. I mean, you landed and stopped. They couldn't break this. Couldn't break that level. So, maybe that holds. You're going to have to see if that holds. If that holds, you have something, but you might just be that you have this flag that's going to build for a while before you get another signal. So you're going to have to watch that. But that's not the action I was looking for. I was looking in for get up and go, and that's not what we got at all. So let's do MRVI. I think I did the others already. I did BNTX. I didn't do Moderna. You're right. You're right. I didn't. So look, if this goes, let me push this out. If this breaks this level right here, okay, you can run up. You could get up to here pretty quickly, $69. I think this could break out here and go on positive BNTX move. And, the mRNA news, I think, just to kind of go over this, let me just drop that down. Let's open this up and let's really zoom in on this. So here's the issue with it. This could rally on this news, right? You can get up to this 406, 407 level. Okay. The issue becomes that everyone and their sister is going to want the one that's approved by the FDA. So that kind of puts them behind the 8 ball. So just keep that in mind. Hey, John. Intel. Yep. Let's do Intel. So, I mean, it doesn't really get any uglier, right? I mean, that's pretty ugly. You're up here and you've completely broken down. You're breaking these levels left and right. Like, look at this level. You broke that 52.31. You can't hold it. You can't get back above it, right? So you have this little trend line right here. Maybe you hold that. Maybe you hold that trend line. But I don't see it. I mean, I don't see any reason to be getting involved with this. It keeps getting their lunch. They keep getting their lunch eaten. I mean, they are just getting crushed by AMD. So, they need to step up their game big time. And that's just not happening. So to me, I think you're heading back to, that 45 level. I mean, look, every earnings call, it ends in some kind of disaster where they talk about it and they just keep selling the stock. So they're getting their lunch eaten right now. Well, let's look at crowd, and then I'll look at Ethereum. So the sector just kind of fell apart, right? I wouldn't go near this. There's some software names that are hanging in there, like Asan, ASAN. Like this one's hanging in there, right? Still hanging in there. It won't get over this 80, but it's still hanging in there. And then there's others that are trying to break out and rally, right? Like this is trying to do that. It's trying to break out and rally, and it failed. But some of these are just selling straight down like this. And this sold straight down. So I'm not in a big hurry to be buying something that broke this. Like, look, let's get rid of these and just, I can get rid of all these lines for a moment and show you what I'm talking about. I can get rid of all these too. So here's my H, right? So that when this forms, I'm forming a bear flag, right? Here's the H, and here's the bear flag part of the H. So I broke here, and that would mean that I need to at least get to here before I could even consider putting on a trade, right? And then after that, you really need to get over the top of the H before you even really do anything. So this needs a ton of work before it's something that I would buy. I don't bottom fish on something like this. That's just really nasty stuff. That's just outright selling, and I don't know who's behind it. And it's underperforming all the other software names. So it's not something I'd be running into, Lucas. Let me just do ETH USD. So I have my levels marked off on this. I think it looks fairly good. I mean, look how you're respecting 3,000 has flipped pretty clearly, right? So 3,000 now is what? Support, right? What's resistance? So you're wedged in there. You're just simply wedged in there and sitting there. I wouldn't be buying it until I got above that 3,300 level, 3,333. It's funny how that's the number. And 3,000 would be my, my support level, which is probably where I'd be looking to buy more of it. We can throw the indicators in, but they're not really going to tell us anything, are they? I mean, we know we're above the 200 and the 50, and we know where we're going. I think it's going higher. Like I've been saying this for years. Like if I was going to buy one of these, and I don't have many positions in these right now at all, but here, like, look at this. Like this can really go. So it's something to consider. The other one that I keep looking at and trying to trade, I'm just trying to figure out the movement of it. And I just haven't been able to time it right. Like if you're just looking for like a fund, like this GDLC, it acted really well the other day off that, that hammer, broke the hammer, jumped it, and then just ripped. So, I mean, that had a great day on Friday. I don't know if that's going to continue or not continue. And frankly, I don't know the makeup of what's in there. Someone could speak better to it than I can. I haven't had time to go through the holdings. But to get back to your question, I do like this. I do think it's going higher, but I would not be adding to it if I was looking for a trade until I'm through 33, that level right there. Lucas, that's what I would be looking for. Yeah, I don't really get it, Anna. I really don't. Hey, DG. Yeah, I agree with you on that. I agree with you. It's starting to look like, and this was like, look, for those that are in the community, this, right? I was looking at it here. I was waiting for it to break because let's go and take a look at this trade and hold on. Let's do it this way. Let's get rid of all these horizontal lines because this is somewhat important for everybody to kind of get a grasp of, right? So I was waiting for a trigger. This was a trigger closing above the 200-day, right? And closing above this bar, right? With this little doji, that would have made what? I made a decision off the long legged doji, right? And I'm above the 200 day. And I would have broken this little ledge right here, right? Which should have gotten me up to here and at least been able to raise my stop up 10, 15 points, right? So I'm up 10, 15 points, raise my stop to break even, let the trade play itself out. If I get stopped out, fine, whatever, next trade. But I should have traded to like 405. That's kind of where my head was with it. That's not what happened. What happened is I respected this trend line and I'm going lower. And now the 8's crossing the 200 and it looks awful. So I keep waiting for it to pull one of these. But so far, we're not pulling one of those, right? We're just not. So we're going to have to watch it. But I agree. Twillo looks like that. Lows I like. I like that whole space, though. I'm kind of partial to it. I mean, look, you know, this was the thing about Lowe's, right? Everybody was concerned about their inventories in regards to lumber because the lumber price is coming in. And I was too. And you can see like the reaction on it. But they did exceptionally well. And then you just saw all the people here that got shaken out. What happened to them? They had to step up and buy. And then they bought, right? I would not be a buyer of this until I got through this evening star pattern over here and this 215 3/4 level. I wouldn't buy it now. It's kind of pointless. You have 7 points before major resistance. But I do like it. I like that whole space. You know, Home Depot setting up. Look at, I mean, I don't know if you play with this. This is another way to kind of trade it. Nail. So this is the home builders and suppliers. It's an ETF. But I like Lowe's. But for Lowe's, to get back to your question, before I go off on another tangent, 215.64, you have to get over that. So let's just keep going. So I mean, swing. I just think when they get approved, I think when Visor gets approved, that's going to be it. ETCG. Yeah, I mean, same thing. You're just really waiting. I mean, this really looks like what? It really looks like the same exact chart we just looked at, doesn't it? Right? It really looks like so there's some positive things here, but you're in a base. So it's hard to get excited about this cross, right? Because you're in that base. I'd like to get out of this base and then I'll be a little more excited about these crosses. They don't mean as much when you're in a base. You need a trend for them to mean anything. Like you need it to cross here, right? See how these crossed and then you broke that level and got above that. That's when it means something. So, and you can kind of see that, right? You can kind of see that move. Like that's what you're hoping happens here, but you need it to happen. So you have to get above like 41.5 for that to happen. So, keep throwing them out. We'll keep going through them. But I do think that you have to look at what's going on out there. I mean, if you take a look at like the biotech index, this is kind of shaping up. Let's remove all the text and we can just kind of show this again. I'll just draw it all again so you can see it. But what you're seeing here is, you know, we saw this come in after BIIB, but look at this. Like this is setting up. We're hitting the 50-day. We respected it, right? And you formed a bullish engulfing essentially right here where you encapsulated this bar. So you're holding the 50. I mean, you know where your stop is. So, you know, there's some ways to trade this that are somewhat interesting. This is one of them that you could look at if you have to break through this level right here before you continue, you know, before you consider it. But there's a trade there, you know, and if large cap's going to rally and continue to rally, how much longer is this staying down? Right? If large cap's going to rally, how much longer is FNGU going to stay down? It can't, right? I mean, it's a 3X ETF of FANG. So if Facebook is going to rally and all these are going to rally, which seems to be what's going to happen, right? They all seem like they're finally going to go, right? I mean, like here, look, like even this is setting up, right? This is setting up to break out. It just hasn't done it yet. but look at this. Okay, you're setting up to break out that long downtrend. You break this, you're probably going to here, right? So FNGU can benefit from that. The 3X ETF, so it's pretty easy to trade. And I don't think you're there. I don't think you're ready for prime time yet, but you're sure getting there. So, yeah, of course, Tom, anytime. SESN is broken for sure, but any value of quick flip based on circle levels. I don't know, John. I don't know if I would touch it or not. Let's just go through it. SESN, and we'll just take a look. I wouldn't touch this with 10-foot pole. No, I mean, you just can't go near this. I mean, you just can't. Like, it's pretty clear that people just don't think that they're getting this approval. And I remember looking at the company and just going through their cash reserves just to see where they were at money-wise. And it's something like they have like 10 cents a share in the bank. When you go through and you see how dilutive it was, like them doing all the secondaries and everything else. So there's not really a lot of cash per share in the bank to give this thing any kind of base whatsoever. It's probably toast. So it's not something I'd be rushing into. So let's just go here, forward. So, I mean, I've not been shy about the fact that I absolutely love this trade, and it's just not working. So let's get rid of everything here. And it's just not working. But I absolutely love the trade. And I do think that you're getting to a point, there's an 11 line that right here, you see this 1194 here, like, look at this. I've been talking about this for some time. And I'm just going to draw it again because I think people are missing the significance of it. But okay, that is a 21-year secular base that we broke. Now, we didn't get through the higher high, so technically we didn't get there yet. But okay, on the monthly, you can get down to this 11 3/4 and still be in your uptrend, right, on your monthly. So I think that's where you're going. And when we get there, I think it's something that you could probably look at buying and just socking away and forgetting that you own. I do expect this to continue, and I do expect it to rally, but it's just not doing it. You're just seeing selling, wave after selling. And I think when you get to this level, you may see buying. You may see some value step up. And that's really what I'm looking for to add to it. Yeah, I mean, to answer this question, when you say BNTX will rally and then break, can you discuss that? I'm not so sure, I'm not so sure how it's going to play out. So there's some really big things that we have to consider when we're looking at this, right? So the very first thing you have to think about with BNTX that's really pertinent is the following. When they come out with FDA approval, okay, it's not going to be carte blanche. They're going to come out and say, this drug is approved for this group of people with this. This is how we're going to do it. There's a huge difference between emergency authorization, and anyone in this room can speak to that's a doctor can speak on it more than I can. But there's a huge difference between emergency authorization and FDA approval. Okay. Emergency authorization is get this out there. It works. We'll start learning about the side effects. We'll start figuring it out and we'll go from there. Okay. And that's what's transpired with this. Now, that has made a lot of people, if you read, uneasy, and they have the right to be uneasy. I'm not going to get into the politics of this. Everyone has the right to make their own choices. So what I will say is this: when you're FDA approved, you're going to have a warning label. You're going to have a litany of these are the side effects. These are the possible outcomes of taking it. These are the probabilities of it working. Okay. I mean, it is very serious when they do that. So if people still don't want to get it, that's fine. But depending upon what they list as side effects, depending upon when they list as efficacy, depending how they talk about dosage and what to do with it, when all that comes out with the FDA, that's the stuff that you're going to really get into the minutia that's going to affect the stock. So I don't know if people are going to get through all that in a day, a couple days. I don't know if, how great they're going to be with it. Are they going to be like, this is the best ever? Everybody should get this one. I just don't know. So you're going to have to see. It's a positive event off the rip for sure. and it's a very positive event for Visor and BNTX. I don't know if they're going to hit new highs on it. I won't know until we see it. So what was this? Do I feel like ETFs are better than individual stocks? It depends on the company. Totally depends on the company. So SWK, sure. So SWK, I mean, what we're seeing, Stanley Black and Decker, you have like a little trend line right here. You're trying to respect, but you're having a hard time with it, right? You can see that you're having a hard time at that level. I mean, you're below the 200-day moving average. This is not something I would be. You have to be like a really big value investor to be looking at stuff like this. I mean, you're sitting right on the top of that, right? You have to break that at least. And you can see that that's a pretty significant level for the stock. We broke above it here, flipped it back, became support in here for this flag, came back, tested here, kind of tested here, but not really, didn't get there, but then went, right? And here you are again. But, you know, you're breaking the 200 days. That's not really something that I would be looking at. Anytime, John. Square. So yeah, I mean, I kind of get this here. Let me just clean this up because I got too much going on for people to see that. But you're right on that trend line. And you're right there. So I get that trade. I like it. I would wait for it to break that wedge line before I got involved with it. But I see what you're looking at. And I like that you're right there on the 8 and the 21. You just have to get above them. But that could go here. That is major upside. Major upside. TRMR. Tremor International. Okay. Yeah, it's not something I would be rushing into here. I mean, it looks like it's some kind of new issue. Tried to break this level, weren't able to, right? Wicks or what? Price rejection. So let's just see here. Let me just see something. See if you have any volume. You have any volume? Yeah, there's some volume. I mean, maybe it goes. See how this volume's picking up? Maybe it goes swing. Maybe that pops. You're going to have to see. You're going to have to wait, watch, and see on that. So I have a couple minutes left here. If anybody wants to throw out symbols or anything else. Other than that, you know, tomorrow, that's just key levels for NVIDIA. I would just sit there and be hyper focused on this because if this breaks tomorrow, it's going to be pretty massive as far as a move. And, you know, the Qs are setting up perfectly to run here to get up to this level and push. So I do think that something like that could continue. You couldn't see a move to this. You know, I do think that's possible. And I just think that some of these things are really setting up. You know, some of these were just, it's incredible to me that like Apple came all the way back down after making that new high, but that's exactly what it did. And it broke the 21 and the 50. And that's not really what you're looking for out of it. But it happens. So I don't think that that's done either. I mean, like XLK, if that keeps going, it has to pull that up because it's 20% of the index. So, I mean, Microsoft's not going to go up on its own without that index. It's a lot of volume for Microsoft too, but it was too big of a move for me to get involved, right? I just bounced off of this, came right up to here. The next day they're putting it up. That's a big move for Microsoft to get involved with. So yeah, TTD, I like TTD, but it's just not acting right. I mean, it's a great company, but you see how you're sitting right on that line? I'm watching it. I think it might present another opportunity. You know, sitting in there, you filled the gap, right? So, I mean, like, look where you went to. Look at this. You filled the gap perfectly. So you did what you needed to do. Now you have to hold, right? And we've seen this happen with stocks before, right? We just saw this happen with DDD, right? Where you filled the gap. And now you're just waiting for it to go. So we're doing the same thing here with this. So we're just waiting for that to return and get back up there. And I do think it can. I think you can get up there pretty quickly. So yeah, I do like TTD. ARRY. Yeah, let's take a look at that. I mean, I've played in this name and it doesn't act right at all. But could you fill that gap? Sure you can. I mean, I don't know that you're getting any further than this, but it's hard to say. This is where you're going, right? So really what you have to do is you have to get above that 19, and then you're trying to get to 23, and then you're using the low of this bar as your stop, right? I mean, that's the trade, and you just wait for it to grind, and maybe it gets there, maybe it doesn't. It also depends how washed out you are. Okay, the moving averages, I mean, they've caught up. The moving averages have caught up on it, at least, not the 200-day. And where are you with RSI? So that's interesting, right? I mean, here you are in the break. And then here you are here when it takes out a lower low. Here, look, let's do it this way and get rid of these and look at this for a moment. So every time you broke that lower low, what happened? The RSI went up. So that's very interesting that's happening. This could go. You could get up to there. You could get up to that 23.14. That could definitely happen. Yeah, I think so too, SF. I mean, I actually have a short position in that, but I'm watching this and realizing like we're washed out. Well, I think we're washed out. I was looking at this today, like from Thursday, Friday. This is starting to turn positive, right? A higher high here is all you need. And with the RSI down like this is going to get ugly fast. So this has a lot of potential just to go right to this level on the slightest bounce. I mean, it's gone. It's down so much. I just thought it would sell down more if they, with what was going on geopolitically, because of how related to Macau they are, and Sheldon's gone. So kind of thing. LABU. So LABU at this level, not really. No, it's just not acting right at all. Like, look at this. I mean, every time we break a level, it fails. Now look at this, right? It's just not great. So this one's acting much better. If you were to buy one, I'd be looking at BIB. It's acting much better than LABU. RBLX. $83.41. See how you can't get through that $83.41 level right here? I don't really need this for this. I can't get through this level. I keep trying, but I can't do it. The fact that they missed on their numbers, right? And by missed, not so much on the earnings, but they missed the growth that they were looking for, because kids are going back outside and school's starting. And so they're not asking mom for the credit card anymore. You kind of have to think like that. You had a great evening star or a morning star trade here, this nice gap lower, and then it just went. So we'll see what happens. SC I did already. I'll do it again, Anna. Let me just go through it real quick. So from a newsletter perspective, I mean, I have to be out because it broke my stop. I'm annoyed that I'm out just because I think it's going to hold here. I think all we did, it happened the last 2 minutes. All they did was just come down and stop me out. So I have to wait and just see what tomorrow brings on it. But I don't think this is done. I really don't. Like, the fact that we hit this new high when the market was selling down that day told me everything I need to see. And look at this volume: 1, 2, 3 above the moving average. Look at the selling volume, right? It was just selling volume on a Friday that they were screwing around with, and that's what gets me so annoyed. But look, it's not even anywhere near as high as these other volumes, so it's not something that I really want to be in. So, I mean, it's not something that I want to be out of. Let me rephrase that. I apologize. So, long day looking at charts all day. See you in the AM for sure. I don't think it's going lower. I think you have to watch this level, Lucas. Like, look, you have to watch this level. Okay. There are certain levels that are very well respected with stocks. Okay. And when you know how to draw these upper channels right, you can see them. Like, you see how you're levered here. You see how you flipped. Now you're heading to this level, right? So you just have to watch. For me, I mean, look, let me throw these in so that you can see this. Okay, there's your 50-day. I don't know what your time frame is. If I close below this 50-day and I did this again, I know that I would be out, right? I mean, that would definitely be it. The fact that I'm closing below the 21 day is an issue. Okay. The fact that the 8 and the 21 are sitting right there is an issue. So I don't know what's going to happen. I do know that I wouldn't be a buyer here. We're just sitting on that, and we tried to rally and couldn't. I don't know what tomorrow brings. I don't know why we're so hyper focused on just so many little names. The clouds positions look great, and the one that we're in from the newsletter looks great, but I don't really understand why crowd is where it is. And frankly, you're at the top of the channel. So until you flip that channel, you're very limited on your upside on that, in my opinion. Thanks, John. All right, I'm out of here. I have to finish the newsletter up. If you need me, just reach out. You should know how to get in contact with me. If not, just email me there and we can go from there. Everyone, have a great evening.